We're going to show you how to add a domain inside of GoHighLevel. So stay tuned and build along with us. So again, you're probably in the system and you're doing great so far. So now let's go ahead and add a domain. Now, for anybody that doesn't know what a domain is, it's basically the way people find things inside the internet. So think of it like nuno.com or shop.com or hello.com. These are all domains. And today what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to add a domain inside of your GoHighLevel account. Now, more importantly than anything else is where you buy your domain. Our recommendation is either Cloudflare or GoDaddy. Cloudflare is incredibly reliable. It integrates automatically into the system and it makes the process super easy. Same thing with GoDaddy. It has the same kind of integrations. It's kind of a hands-off approach and you literally can connect a domain in a matter of seconds. I am going to show you how to do the domains inside here where it's both manual and where you can do that one-click button. But the one-click button only really works with Cloudflare and GoDaddy. If you're using any other domain provider, this will not work. You'll have to manually add the record. Now, the first part of this lesson is I have to teach you guys all about domains because you need to understand what a subdomain is and a domain. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go right over here and I'm gonna go to our area up here and I'm just gonna basically show you guys what a domain is, right? So a domain is nuno.com, okay? That is an actual domain that you're gonna go to that if I click enter, it's gonna go somewhere, right? Now, the parts of the domain or the anatomy of the domain is really simple. This is what's called the root part of the domain or the main domain. If you put a / in front of it, it's called the path. This could be like home, go, about, about us, contact us. So a lot of the times when you build a website or you go to a website, you're going to notice that when you click on links, the / will change and anything after it will be what's called a path. Now, there's also something called the double path, which is when you have like blog posts. It'll say something like nuno.com /blog / whatever the blog title is, right? That's called a double path. Now, you're not going to see a lot of double paths out there other than blogging scenarios, but mostly you're going to see a lot of root domain / path. Now, the rule of the internet is no two paths be the same. So what that means is if I have a home and it's being used, sometimes systems will automatically add a bunch of random numbers because that is protecting it from going to the same address again because it's going to create a pretty significant error. So just understand that any / or path that you create has to be basically its own path, never been used before. So if you see a bunch of numbers being added whenever you're creating a page or you're creating a path, 9 times out of 10, that means that the system is trying to prevent you from having two pages go to the same address. So that means that somewhere in your ecosystem for that domain, you have a forward path, like a / with the same name like home. You're already probably using it. So I'll add like home 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever, and it's random numbers. If that is happening to you, that means that home is being used elsewhere and you can't use it again. So you actually have to go back and find where you have it, change that / to be whatever for this one to work. All right, hopefully that wasn't too confusing. So just a little recap, root domain, nuno.com, right? With a path of home, let's say, will make like kind of this part of the instruction, right? So you guys have to understand that. Root / path. All right, now just kind of keep it so it makes sense. There's now another part of the domain that is incredibly important. That's called a subdomain. A subdomain is basically anything before your root, like go, email, portal, courses, anything that you have in here, that is called a subdomain. Now, let me kind of explain to you this so then this makes a little bit more sense. Imagine you were living in a massive sky-rise building and you own the building and the name of your building is nuno.com. But you want to rent out a bunch of different apartments that have their own entities, their own kind of people, and we want them to live out there, but I don't want to buy another apartment. I don't want to buy another nuno.com. I want nuno.com for everything that I do. So what I can do is I can create what's called a subdomain. The subdomain is, again, a little part of my domain that I can give to a software and let it use it and do whatever it is. So if I decided to come over here and use a subdomain of Go, now if I do go.nuno.com / path, I can have as many paths under go.nuno.com that I want. So in essence, it creates almost like a little other site. You can use that everywhere. Now, this is where it gets a little confusing. Most of us already have websites in our business, right? Like if I already have Nuno.com, it's been operating and it's with a different system called WordPress or Wix or Squarespace. If that domain is already being used there, I cannot use it in this system. I have to create a subdomain in order for me to use it inside of my system that I have now. So just understand that if I'm already using my domain somewhere, I can't use that domain because it's being used by an entirely different system. WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, there's Showit, all these different things that are out there that are being used, Kajabi, HubSpot, whatever it is. Since that domain is already being used there, meaning that root domain is already there, I can't use that root domain. So what I have to do is I have to create a subdomain if I want to have websites and funnels and other things inside of here. And I'm going to show you all the different places where you can put your domain. So always think that if I have a site that's already existing, I cannot use my root domain inside the software unless I want to take my entire site down. Because the second you use your main domain in here, that site will go down and this one will go up. So just be very understanding of that before we do anything, that if you have already a WordPress site, you cannot, again, or stress again, you cannot use your root domain inside of here. You're going to have to use what we call a subdomain. And honestly, Go is the one that we usually use because it's super easy and it won't confuse a lot of people when they do it. Now, hopefully that was a little understanding. Let's get into actually how we do this, right? Hey, we want to interrupt this video for a quick little minute to just let you know that I hope you're enjoying this video. We want to thank you for being here, but more importantly, we are hoping that this content helps you do whatever you're trying to do inside of HighLevel. We also want to let you know that you have options to get additional help. We offer a $197 a month VIP coaching program that includes 4 days of office hours, first come, first serve with Andy or myself, where we go in and we answer any of your questions that you might have live with a group setting for other people that are also working in HighLevel. We also have a VIP group where we answer questions directly one-on-one with anybody posting in that group to give you the absolute best support. It also comes with a bunch of other features, including our funnel brick system, our little mini course, and more importantly, a couple guides that'll help you through this, and also including our SOP library that we use for pretty much everything inside of our agency. So thank you for this quick little minute, but more importantly, go back to the video, get whatever you need, and if you have any questions that we can answer inside the video, just drop a comment on the video and we'll make sure to answer whenever we get a chance. And now back to the show. So I'm gonna pop up my screen again. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go over to the left-hand side and I'm going to go to settings. Inside of settings, you're going to notice that there's something called domains. Now, if you have Cloudflare and you have GoDaddy, this is going to be super easy. And what I need you to understand is that once you put it in here, it's going to be literally a couple button clicks. Now, for instance, I'm not using the domain anywhere, like anywhere, for this particular site. So if I wanted to add the domain to this site, I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit connect domain. And because I'm not using this domain that I have right here, which is automatedmarketer.live, anywhere else, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to drop the domain inside of here. Now, because I dropped the domain inside of here, I'm going to hit continue. And it automatically asks me, because I'm using the root domain, do you want to add www? Now, www, believe it or not, is a subdomain. Don't get me into how confusing this part is, but it's something that we used to have to do when we were making a domain. People always get confused about this. www is a subdomain of your root. You always want to use a domain and then add your www. Now, if you're using go dot or help dot or courses dot or portal dot, that's already subdomain. You won't be able to use www with that. Only when you're using your root domain will this even pop up, okay? And let me just show you what I mean. If I come over here, and I'm going to cancel this, and let me put the go in front of it like I mentioned, watch what happens. I hit continue, no www here, because www is a subdomain, and you can't put a subdomain to a subdomain, all right? Now, again, I'm going to use my main domains just so I can show you how to do this. I don't have this anywhere else, so I can use my main domain. So I'm going to hit continue. It's going to automatically ask whether or not I want to do the www, and the answer is always yes. So I'm going to hit continue. It's again, authorizing Cloudflare, which is where I bought my domain. Again, Cloudflare and GoDaddy, you'll have the ability to do this. And I'm going to hit authorize domain. And it's okay. Here are the records. Here's what we need to add. Are you okay with me doing this? Absolutely. I'm going to hit automatedmarketer.live. And it's going to automatically add my records for me. Now, the reason I know that this will work, sometimes you'll get a red screen. If you get like a little red in here, that just means that it just needs a little bit more time, because this is what it's actually doing. It's actually going to Cloudflare and it's adding the necessary records in order for this to work. So if it does that, don't be alarmed. Not really a big deal. It just means it needs a little bit more time. And lo and behold, here you are. It's been added, and you can say, yay, your domain has been added, and proceed to finish. And it's right here. You're going to have it. See, this is the www, and this is the regular root domain. Now, the www, believe it or not, it automatically created what's called a redirect. What this means, it's a really fancy term of when somebody types in www.automatedmarketer.live, they will automatically get pushed into automatedmarketer.live. Now that I have my domain added in here, if there is already a funnel or a website I've created inside this tool that I want to add to that domain, all I got to do is go over to the three little dots on the right-hand side, hit edit, and then select the home page that I want in order for this domain to work, okay? And then I hit save, right? That's the first domain part that I want to add. Well, let's make believe I don't have my main domains already being used in WordPress, and this is not going to work. So I have to delete this. Now, mind you, if you added your domain and you don't have a website yet, no problem. Just remember that if you want to make that site live, you would want to come into domains, come in here, hit the three little dots, hit edit, and just hit this to make the page, like the home page, whatever it is, like you'll have all your funnels will be here that you want to make live and then go from there. Okay. That's the main part right here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete this, believe it or not, because I'm going to show you what mostly is happening to a lot of people, which is I already have a website somewhere else. I don't want it going down. How do I add my subdomain? Well, I'm going to show you how easy it is, right? And I'm going to do it manually so you can see it manually what it's going to take. And notice I'm going to try to delete this, but because I already have a URL set up, it's going to ask me, take me to the URL, the redirects page, and I have to delete the redirect first, all right? And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go domains and I'm going to hit delete, okay? Awesome. Now that that's done, the next part is I'm going to add my subdomain. So I'm going to hit connect domain. I'm going to come over here, go.automatedmarketer.live, continue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the record manually. Now, records are the way for the internet to basically know where things are. So what we're doing is we're telling Cloudflare, my domain provider, hey, do me a favor. Whenever somebody types in my name or this domain, I need you to send it over here. And the over here part is this system right here, right? So I'm going to go to Cloudflare. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit add record. I'm going to select, what does it say? It says the record type is called a CNAME. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do CNAME. I'm going to type in the word go because it's the name required or what they consider the host. This will be different, maybe in a different domain provider, just in case you're not using this and you're forced to do it manually. Then you're going to do the required value. And I'm going to put it in either target or required value or value. Everybody's going to be a little bit different, but believe it or not, sometimes they'll always have at the bottom what the examples are. And this is where it's going to go. Now in Cloudflare, they have something called a proxy. You have to turn the proxy off. In most cases, you won't need to deal with this because this will automatically happen for you in Cloudflare. But in your system, whatever it might be, domain.com, Namecheap, or whatever else, this is how you add the subdomain, and then you're going to hit save. All right. Once you do that, that is all set. Now that's all set, I come in here and just like before, verify records. And what it's going to do is basically now communicating and just checking to make sure that domain is live here. Now, just like before, once a domain is live, I can select what site this domain will kind of be the main domain that it goes to. So we're going to let this verify for a second. And as you can see, it's right here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the three little dots. Whoop, I don't know why it's doing that, but let's refresh our screen a little bit because I have to give this basically a home page. For some odd reason, those three little dots were not reacting to me. So all I did was refresh the page because now that this domain is here, okay, I'm going to go back out and I can go into any site. This is the other way to do it. I can go to any site. All right, I come over here, click on this thing right here, go to settings, come over here, select my domain, and now if I hit save, this domain will be live. All right, so now if I go to this domain, it will actually be live and I can come in here, I'm gonna copy it, paste, and lo and behold, whatever that page is, boom, it's live. All right, so you just also made a particular funnel live. Now, for a lot of us here, we might be using communities or membership areas. What I like to do is always set that up first. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go to settings. Oh, not settings. I'm sorry. If I'm planning on having a community or I'm planning on having anything in here, notice it's already here, but I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go to settings, memberships, client portal, settings, domain setup. And inside this domain setup, I'm going to modify and I'm going to put in portal.automatedmarketer.live. Oop, not that. And since I'm a terrible speller, what I usually do is I usually go to the domain provider and I copy it exactly as is. If you're starting to see a lot of errors and your domain's not approving, 9 times out of 10 is because you copied it wrong or you spelled it wrong. Trust me, this happens more often than not. I hit continue. It's going to automatically set up my domain, and same thing, it's going to authorize like before. If not, it's going to tell me to manually add a records, and it says what records will be added. Now, CNAME portal, client portal, I would come in here, add, not filter, add CNAME portal is the root, all right? And then portal is the name that I have in here. And then in here, I'm going to copy this client portal, whatever, take the proxy out, and then I would hit save. When I hit save, now my member area is also complete. The only reason why I'm doing this now is if ever I decide to create a community or a membership area for whatever I'm doing, clients, yourself, community for clients, who knows? I could go ahead and do that here, and it's already kind of done, and I can wash my hands out of it and just say, hey, it's done. I don't have to worry about it. Now, the cool part about this is anytime that you want to add more domains, you would literally just come in here and add more domains. I can delete this one and add a new domain and everything else. So we're going to recap a little bit, right? First and foremost is if I have my main domain already on a site, I'm going to use a subdomain in here. You learned about paths, domains, and you also learned about the roots, the paths, and the subdomains. So go back and watch that if you're a little confused. Notice that I used the subdomain in here because I already had an actual domain being used and leveraging in here. So just be very aware of that, right? So whenever you're going about doing this, just understand that if my site's already up, then I'll have to use a subdomain in this software. We added the root domain in here, so you saw how that was. If you have Cloudflare and GoDaddy, it automatically integrates. If using things like domain.com, Namecheap, and whatever 1,000 ones that are out there, understand that you're going to have to manually add those records inside those systems in order for this to work in here. And then I showed you how to add a domain in here and also how to add a domain in your community area. So then you kind of get it out of the way in order for all of this to work. So super simple. Hopefully this wasn't too confusing. But again, I showed you how to do it manually. I showed you how to basically do the one click to get it in there. I described what a subdomain and the main domain was. And I just kind of hopefully made this as understandable as possible, considering that this is a little tough sometimes and people do get a little lost in this. But hopefully this helps, and we'll see you in the next one.